Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to one more episode of this webinar series called Archicad Now. This is the last episode of Series 4, and we have me and James that normally host these sessions. We have the opportunity to have Ricardo Dias. He's a BIM consultant in Hong Kong that is joining us. After last week, he couldn't join due to Mother Nature. Sent a typhoon to Hong Kong. So this week, the topic will be user experience sharing. So a modular integrated construction, or what we call in Singapore a PPVC construction, a case study of a building in Hong Kong. So how a construction company that is very proficient in terms of virtual design and construction. Actually, their name is GVDC, Global Virtual Design and Construction. They always come out with very creative and very innovative workflows on how to use the technology to enhance and support the construction process. So in this case study, we'll have Ricardo showing us even live with the file how he took advantage of this the BIM model with all the geometry and even some parameters that are specifically built in the units or the modules so that they can be further managed in on site. Just a few more words about Ricardo. He's an architect by training. We studied together, we worked together in Portugal. So it's my pleasure to have him here presenting such a successful case study in Hong Kong. So Ricardo, are you ready to share the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so you can take over now. Just start sharing the screen and I will wrap it up later. Thank you very much.
So let me. Should I click it somewhere else to share the screen? No.
Okay. Do I need to stop? Probably I need to stop sharing so that you can share.
Yeah.
Okay. So, or I make you.
I think you need to make me organizer again.
Okay. Yeah. I had to make you presenter again. Okay. Okay. Perfect.
So first of all, thank you for this invitation and this opportunity to showcase a little bit of my work here in Hong Kong. So very special thanks to Graphisoft Singapore and all the friends there. So starting, I'm not going to take much time on presentation of myself. I think Marcelo said pretty much everything that is need to know. In this case, I will present the project in which we applied some of the functionalities and capabilities everyone almost know anyone as a user, Archicad user. But okay, I'll just show how we applied in this particular project. This is 5-tower. These are the quarters of the fire department service. So it's basically firemen residencies. There are 5 towers and pretty much all the typical floors, the ones you see in colors, are the same with a different rotation, but basically they are composed by the same apartments and the same modules themselves. So each apartment, something like this. So let me just select here. They are
Nice.
They are grouped. So this is an apartment. Each floor has 8, I believe. I don't remember. This was already a little bit a long time ago. But the shape you guys see on the tower is like a cross shape. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 apartments. Each apartment are composed by 5 modules. Okay, so it's basically one module per bedroom, one for the kitchen. No, sorry, there are 2 bedrooms, 1 bedroom and a bathroom. That's another module. Then there's the living room and the kitchen. Okay, those are the 5 modules. We received, this was pretty much everything modeled in Archicad. So here we have the structure, the landscape, and we also, since my last presentation on this, we also modeled the finishings, the external finishings on top of this precast elements, this prefabricated concrete modules, and we received these modules from Tekla. So I'm going to showcase just how this was organized. So basically, the idea was to have the prefabricated elements. They were modeled in the factory using Tekla. So we received the IFC file. That IFC file was very detailed. So I basically opened in Archicad and simplified it. I created a library for all the modules. So they are not all the same. They are pretty much the same, but there's a few variations. So that's why you see a lot of different modules. There are also modules for the lift lobby, for the corners. I'll try to showcase just the floor plan so you guys can better understand. So these are the apartments. These are the lift core. We also received parts of the lift core. For example, the stairs, they are also prefabricated. But for this exercise, it didn't matter. So I just left the original elements and all the other that were important to me or to this project, I saved as Archicad object. And basically this is the corridor here all around the lift core, and then there's the entrance for each apartment.
So you got the modules from the fabricator side in Tekla, you simplify them.
Yeah, basically I will show the Tekla file. So this is the Tekla file that we received. It has like rebars, 3 typical floors, This is a file that we use also for our animation because we wanted to make a construction sequence, how they were being assembled on site. So this was like that model preparation. Here you guys can see the modules a little bit better. So in Tekla, they were created using an assembly feature where you can like group elements under one assembly. Archicad doesn't do that, so if we have separated elements, we can group them, but they are not considered one entity. So for this exercise, I just saved everything into one object that was more useful in this particular case. So after saved, they were placed, of course. These are just the properties I saved, as you can see, with the original colors. I gave the name to the object for the module. This will be important for later. And another important aspect is that I classified all these objects as construction element. So I gave they are the only elements that are classified in this file. So later I can just call them whenever I want, and I will explain. So I hope you guys can see this PowerPoint. Is a very simple one that explains what we did and what was the purpose. So the idea was not only use this model for coordination, so structural, architectural, and later MEP, but the idea was to involve the top management and the government, because this is a project that also involves the ArchSD, so the architectural department from the government. So to involve all the parties into the progress of the assemblage on site. So the idea was that everyone could get into a platform that was being developed by a company that belongs to the same group as GVDC, and using that portal, everyone could monitor or check or view what was the progress, basically. So what I was asked was how could I show these modules with different colors regarding the different checkpoints when they were delivered or assembly on site. So my first idea, or the idea, was to use the graphical overrides and create properties that would display the modules. Even the modules are the same, display them in different colors regarding this information. So as I was telling, I classified these modules as construction element, and I said on the property manager that all elements classified as construction element will have these properties. So I created these properties, basically the module type. The MIC module will be an expression. It's better to show, but this I will just explain and then I will show on the file. So we needed to have several checkpoints, but in the beginning there were like 8 checkpoints, but on site they only happen 2 or 3. So by the end we just stick stick to 3 checkpoints. Then it would have to be a date, a link. They will have to have a code. We would have to locate all the modules by story, flat, and tower. So they would have a unique ID, unique name. Okay. Although all the modules they are repeated, they would have to have a unique identification. So this was the properties organization, where you see expression, for example, for the module ID, as I remember, is the name of the library part, yes. And for the MIC module, I made a concat, so a joint name where the expression will give me the tower, the story, the flat, and the library part name. So that's why it was important to have the object with the correct module type name. So this was the organization on the properties side. Then for the graphical override, I created a few rules by checkpoints. This was the early stage, so we would have colors for each checkpoint, and if the checkpoint was passed or if it has any remarks. But by the end, these were too many colors and it was just a little bit confusing. So we just took to 3, basically. 3 and the 6 and the 7 are pretty much the same color. So we would have a model where it would be displayed only the number 6 and number 8 by 2 tones of blue and 2 tones of purple, basically. And then everything else was being displayed on gray, and all the modules that don't have any checkpoint information, they will be displayed on white. So basically, if I don't have any information applied to these modules, it will be displayed as white, as you see. So all the construction elements are all the classification, all the classified elements as construction elements are white. Everything else is gray and transparent, right? Then the close-up, just like this. And as soon as you start giving giving information to these modules by checkpoint, and if they are passed or if they need remarks, they will be being highlighted by colors. Okay. But the thing is that this is the model, and this is the model with let me just put this on the side. The model with the checkpoint override. So it will be displayed on white. Yeah. Okay, so right now I don't have any information on the modules, because that would be done by an app on site. So as soon as this MIC concrete elements arrived on site, they will be checked by the workers there using an app. They will have the name. This will generate Excel report, and that Excel report will later be imported into Archicad on the schedules. It will fulfill information to all the modules, basically checkpoint, date, and status. And that's something that is not going to be done by me anymore. So it's going to be done on site by this sister company, and then they will just export the BMAX. So that will be the idea. That's why my model is completely white. And later a BMAX will be generated, something like this. I don't have my phone, and my phone just broke down yesterday. So the idea was to show a BMAX on the phone, but I have to stick with this desktop viewer. This is also earlier phase. So all the MIC modules are highlighted with colors regarding the information. I have a video which explains a little bit better, especially the BMAX part. So I want to stay on track. Okay, let me just, everything gets on the way. Okay, so for the property manager, so this was created. So the MIC expression, you can see that only the elements classified as construction elements can access these properties. So flat, it will be manually input. That was the only information I had to input manually on the elements was the tower. So I had to select all the objects that belong to tower 3, 1. So I had to give these names manually, of course. Also the flat, but then the story would be automatically. So you can see here the home story name would be automatically, and as well as the module ID, because it will be the library part name. Okay, so that's how I think the tricky part was to, although having the same modules, I had to get a unique identification by tower, story, and flat. So they could receive different information from the site team. Yeah, then it's only being updated the schedule. So I also generated the schedule. This can, I'm always afraid to open this because sometimes it can take a little bit of time. I don't know when was the last time I opened it. But basically here we'll display the different modules and the name. So when the information will be populated with the Excel, it will have all the modules listed here. This is also a way that I could check if all the information was correct. So here we have by tower and by story, so they have a lot of elements here, right?
So you basically have the 5 modules times the 8 apartments on each floor, right?
Yeah, there's a little bit more than 5 modules I showed you, because we also have modules for
the staircase and things.
Which are like, so there are 9 modules on total with a few variations.
Okay.
Depending if the kitchen is one side or the other, or the bathroom. I think that's the thing. So I already showed. Let me just show. So okay, this is the module. Okay, a few animations or videos. So these are basically the pieces being delivered. Also the facade, some pieces of the facade were precast. So not only so these are basically the pieces being received on site by the app, checked, arrived. So this should be the name you guys see on the phone should be the same name as the Archicad file, right? So this is basically the pieces, the precast facade pieces that enclosure the modules. So let me. I think I will stick with the videos. It's just easier. So this is one of the modules, one of the center ones. I think it's the bathroom and bedroom on each side of the corridor. And this is the assembly part. So basically, on the top, on the end of each flat, there's a precast wall that's basically a structural wall, and the modules will be assembled in the middle. So this is the pieces being laid. I'm fast forwarding, so I skip a little bit of the time. So there's some parts that are cast on site. So there's a part of the slab that is cast on site. So these MIC modules, they also provide the formwork for this slab cast. So the bottom floor, the bottom story will be the formwork for the top floor slab. I hope I made myself clear.
Yeah. So that's why they leave those rebars there, so that when they cast.
Yes. So I also have a very simple
construction simulation.
construct sequence animation. Yeah. So this is how they are being assembled. This is actually not true because this piece is a prefabricated wall that is being placed first than everything. So this is actually a early stage. I think that's not very accurate. So this one is actually more accurate. So the precast wall is the first one because it's structural. Then they cast the slab. They take off the railings and they laid out the first module, which is always the one in the middle. Then the living room, and I think the last one has everything. Jesus.
So one typical floor is done in 5 days.
Yeah. So these ones on the corners you see are the ones for the living room. So it's like water meter closet cabinets and electric cabinets. Then the middle portion of the flat and a few other pieces from the lobby. So there's a lot of precast beams and slabs on the core. This is on in situ, and then the final ones, and then the rebar. So these small ones are individual bedrooms. So 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms with a bathroom. Then so it's a 3-bedroom flat.
Mhm.
Yeah, so a 5-day cycle for the story. Yeah.
So in 5 days, they put roughly like 40 to 50 modules in one typical floor. It's impressive.
I think they already finished. I don't know. I think they were not going to do several towers at one go. So I think they were going tower by tower.
Yeah.
I think they had like 2 towers simultaneously, but so it wouldn't be 5 days for one story for all the towers. I think, and of course it's optimal rate. I think that there were a little bit of delays as well, but yeah, I think we can say 5 days per story. Yeah. Then this was just a few demos. So I would like just to show, because I cannot show any other way. This is the final BMX with info about the name, the checkpoint, and let me just show the link with the Beanie platform, which is a platform that allows to input information and allows the monitoring. This is the platform. It has the checkpoints, if it's passed or not, the names, the serials, the serial numbers for the RFID. And then once you enter the element's info, you can check on photos what was the issue, what was being uploaded and placed by on site. So imagine that something needed a remark because the level was not correct or the module had some issue. Of course, on factory, they already passed quality assurance and quality checking, but quality control. But yeah, this is more on-site related info. I hope I didn't forget anything.
So basically, if you have to summarize the process, because okay, we see that when you take the units, okay, just recapping a bit, we take the units from, or you took the units from the fabrication site, you trim it down, you clean it a little bit, make your own Archicad,
save it as Archicad Library.
Yeah, object.
And this,
Classify them.
This library was the one I used to assemble all typical stories. They were classified, and they were
with a naming convention that you could then track down each one of them, right? Using the formulas.
Yes. It was a mix of classification and properties that were created specifically to obtain the unique name, the unique ID, and the checkpoints. So I could later use those checkpoints for graphical overrides. I published the model without any information, and the information that you guys saw on the schedule was supposed to be fulfilled by the site team, by the report they have using the app. And once that information is populated into the Archicad file, they would publish the BMAX. So the BMAX will display the colors for the status on site, and that's it. That was the idea of all this exercise. So in a way that we could involve the top management and the government tracking the progress for the construction and the assembly, basically the assembly, right?
Mm-hmm. And then, so let's say on site, they would use those mechanisms to check each one of them. So the naming convention was the same. And then they could say that, okay, this one is received, installed, and everything. So that in your
data, because when they use the app, the link between the model and the site would be the name, right? The code of each module. So they later that app generating an Excel sheet. That Excel sheet would have to match the the schedule on Archicad, so the information goes into the right places, right?
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Anyone else has got further questions on this?
So the modules don't just stack directly, like there's different per floor, or like they alternate or something like this. So I remember in one of the images, like the color coding for the floors was different. Or is it exactly the same module stacked?
The color code would always be by if it fulfills some checkpoints they have on site. So even even modules with the same name, they will be displayed with different colors depending on the status on site. But it's just, I think it's just mirrored. So if one module is mirrored on the other flat, it has a different variation. So it just has a different name.
But every floor is basically the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
On the same tower, each floor is the same. Then on different towers, they mirror some elements, but just for
variation.
Yeah. Let me just. It's one thing that's also very interesting in this project. It was. So
and
this is
these modules are just shells, so they're only the structural shell.
Yeah, that's what I was going. So this module is built on a way that later, when the top slab is cast, it will create the beams. So you can see. So the rebar will have to be done in a way that it not only supports the slab, but it makes the beam from the core to the external precast walls that are structural. So that's how.
So the beam is precast on site when the modules make.
The beam is cast on site, and the formwork for them are the precast modules. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. So that's like a mold where you pour the concrete.
Yeah, basically they support the casting from the top slab. Of course, you will have to rebar it, and yeah, then you will go to the next floor and place another structural wall, another modules, and then cast it again and do it and repeat.
Interesting. Yeah, I think now we got more detail than last time we talked about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me see here. I think we have a couple of questions.
Yeah, there's a couple.
Yeah. How often, so Ricky is asking, how often would you update the schedule and publish the BMX? So is that like something you do weekly or to track and bring it on site?
It's the site team. After I pass this empty information file to them, I lost track. So I will keep my work as coordination. But yeah, I would say weekly. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I don't see them updating this every day.
And then we have another question, like if can defects be tracked for each module delivered? So meaning, I don't know, if when you bring the modules on site, I imagine there must be some quality assurance from the factory, right?
Yeah, so there will not be any checkpoints about defected modules because that would be being cleared in the factory. So here is only assembly checkpoints, like if it's arrived on site, if it's placed, and if it's well placed, basically, I would say. So 3 checkpoints on site.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had the checkpoints. Let me see if I.
And Kiwa is asking how are the gaps in between the module filled up? So Kiwa, I think he answered that they cast in on site, or you're talking about the gaps, like let's say when a living room connects to a bedroom.
You're talking about tolerance, some kind of tolerance, right?
Yeah.
On model, it's like 15 mil. So 15
so how do you fill those gaps? Is it with
1.5 centimeters? But I would say it's fulfilled with insulation. I don't know what they put between, but I want to. It will not be any. It will not be cast, and it will not be open. So I think it gets some kind of insulation between. I think there's one of the videos you see them placing something on the wall connecting to the other. Where I have. So you can see there's something on the side of the module. So it's like a sound insulation.
Yeah. So Kiwa is asking, so could it be maybe some kind of foam? I imagine either that or that silicone based.
Yeah, for sure. So this is the rebar attaching here, and then there's the insulation. I can show you the floor plan. So this is how it was modeled. So this is the 50. On the facade, what you would see is silicon on this side. So you would have a black rubber silicon on the facade, because the modules, they already come with the external finish.
Okay.
Hello.
So once they are assembled.
Ricardo, I think we have a question. Someone is asking.
Can you hear me, Marcel?
Yes, go ahead, Ian.
I've got a question on your design, not on your management of the design. Each module appears to have
the design is not mine.
Oh, okay, sorry. Each module appears to have a floor, a ceiling, and 4 walls. And these would have to be designed so that the module can withstand lifting loads transport loads. On top of that, when the modules are in place, you've said that there will be a cast in situ floor on top of the, let's say, the roof of the module below, and beams, so that these modules act like permanent formwork for cast in situ slabs and beams. So at the end of the day, you've got the roof of a module, the cast in situ floor, and then the floor of the module above. 3 layers. Are these layers bonded with rebars or anything to form one structural slab? And then when we come to the walls, each module has its own wall up against the wall of the adjoining module. Are these bonded together, or is there this compression or insulation material to keep them separate? Too much for you, or is that okay?
No, I'm trying to open a section, so I hope it clarifies the issue. So we were not the design team, we are the beam consultant team. So we received drawings with the, oh, this is not the one. We received drawings with architectural layout, and then we received module from the fabrication from the factory, basically for fabrication, and we cooked this coordination model. But basically, yes. So the modules themselves, they need to be strong enough to be transported, placed. Then what I'm showing here is, so
Okay.
this is the roof of the module, and this is the floor.
Yep.
And this is the roof of the next one,
yep,
of the bottom one, and this is, and between you have the cast, in situ cast slab. So
okay, so
you get
you got three slabs basically.
3 layers, yeah.
The roof of one, the floor of the other, and the in situ in between. Are these 3 bonded together?
This one is cast directly on top, and then here there will be an insulation between the in situ and the next module.
Yeah, okay. This is an observation, not a criticism, because it's not your design. But when you look at it, you've got 3 slabs there. So if this is a 20-story building, you've got 60 slabs. This is a lot of additional load. So I really want to query whether this modular form is appropriate for this type of high-rise building, because you're building 3 times the number of floor slabs, unless each of these can be bonded with each other to form one integral slab. There's a lot more weight in this building than in an in situ building. So besides the footings, foundations, all go up. Now, I'm not being critical, I'm just making an observation.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
I cannot argue with the load. I would assume that calculations were done for this, and I would say overall it's 250. So if you combine all the 3 slabs, in which the cast one is 90.
90, yeah.
With 10 for the insulation. So it's basically 100 between modules.
but a typical in situ floor couldn't be any less than 100, but it certainly wouldn't be 290 for the sort of spans we're looking at. So it's still, I'm making the point that you've got 3 times the load in slabs alone. And then when you look at internal partitions between bedrooms, living room, the wall is probably what, 150, two walls of 75, and it's concrete, whereas it could have been stud, much lighter construction. I know that the bottom line answer is calculations must have been done, economics must have been taken into account, and this is proven to be economic.
Yeah. I think also by the quality they can assure on factory and then just assemble on site, and the speeding process, or only for testing up the system. I don't know.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, so I think it's most like questioning if all this like double slabs and things like that make sense. I think at the end of the day, because it's done in factory in controlled environment, it's still okay to double this kind of structures.
Yeah, for example, for me, as not an engineer, or I would say, how can these modules from the bottom stories hold up such a load that the ones from the top stories, they don't have it? But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just maybe it's just cheaper to make them all the same.
Yeah. With
because
more,
you have the molds and you don't worry with anything else. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the standardization of the fabrication that leads to that. So we have another question from Ricky saying that for a project this size, if you consider separating the main file into individual towers plus podium to ease the process. So did you link the separate towers into Archicad, or you just assemble them all in one file because they're objects and they're
The only thing that is separated is the object library, right? Of course.
Mm-hmm.
And the MEP model. It's being done on a separate file.
Okay.
Also because it's not me doing it, so that's why it's more on a coordinate collaboration issue than actually a size issue.
Yeah, you were not designing it. You were just creating this model for this purpose, this specific purpose.
The model itself is not heavy, but as it uses a lot of objects from library, it will, of course, you will notice a few performancing issues on navigating, for example. But yeah, that's normal. So
how many GDO objects? I saw that out of the modules there's like 26 or something.
Good question. You cannot do simple math because the towers, they don't have the same exact number of stories. They vary.
Yeah. So just the number
a little bit.
The number of modules that you use that then I guess are repeated.
Let me see if I can check through here.
Yeah. So another question we have is if this is a public housing project in Hong Kong. I think it's pretty obvious. It is, right?
Yeah, it's being developed by the government for the fire. It's like fireman quarters, so it's for their families, for the fire department services.
Yeah. So is it a housing authority project or?
It's from the architectural department. Yeah.
Okay.
So these many
24.
objects.
On 24 and then multiplied. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And the file itself. Yeah, it's 400 mega.
Okay, so I think that we can wrap up now if there's no further questions. I think it's quite interesting to see, Ricardo, how we can you know, track and use Archicad to bring the blocks or simplify the geometry. Just use it as a platform to transfer data from one end to
I would always need the geometry if we didn't need the coordination, we just needed the highlights for Bmax. I would probably use zones or something. I didn't even gonna use objects. But so it was a combined exercise doing coordination and also doing this this monitoring. So yeah, I used like a light version of the prefab IFC because it was bolts and rebars and things like that it would be just crazy to put everything into the model. So it's nice for having a mock-up and a construction sequence detail, but it's not feasible to be put on a model with all the towers, all the stories, and so that was our option.
Okay, so I think we can wrap it up then. I will, if no further questions, I will just take over the screen.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for letting me share.
Yeah, wait, I'm not kicking you out yet.
No, thank you for letting me share my monitor.
Oh, okay. Okay, that, yes. Let me see. How can I share? Okay. So basically, we've seen how this, how Archicad and Bmax were used to bring in the geometry across and to track how the modules were done. I like also very much the way how you just you focus on the main elements here, which is the stacking. So I think the rest they would solve it on site, right? So it would be easier. So besides this sharing of information, I would like to share here that we have our Graphisoft Learn portal. So on this portal, this website, you can connect, log in, and see what are like the available materials and trainings that are ongoing. This is a global program, so whatever you do here will be recognized worldwide. So this is the initiative directly from Graphisoft. We also have a similar initiative in Singapore and Malaysia that is more localized. You can find also more events and more information of what we're doing in the region, some case studies from existing clients by going to LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. We'll be having a user day coming out soon. We'll be sharing that with all of you either through email or our online newsletter and even on these platforms. So if you want to keep yourself up to date with what's happening and all the sharing sessions we have, this is a good place to go. I want to highlight also that our YouTube channel has been getting a lot of traction. We have for almost all the sessions, we've been having over 100 views. Some even reach over 300 views, 400 views. So we're starting to have some traction, and this is very recent content. So thank you for the support, and if you want to keep sharing. The idea of these sessions is also that we take this sharing or this knowledge and we keep it documented, so that anytime you want to explain to someone or your company or your contractor, hey, listen, you could do this workflow like this company in Hong Kong, GVDC, is doing for Yaoli construction, for example. So we believe that the way this materials can be very easily used by all of you. So please visit the Graphisoft SG YouTube to find what are the available sessions we have there. Also, we have ongoing training courses. Still on time for the basic training and the advanced modeling. James just finished today the advanced documentation training. But if you're a client and you're still on SSA, you can join our Singapore courses with this link that you can see on the bottom of the page. And you see other links there. Another thing, we see you again in 2021. We'll have around 2 months break now on these Archicad Now sessions. We've done 4 series, 4 seasons with 4 episodes each, so a bit over a month each session. So we'll have a little break now because there will also be other events like the user day and things like that. And in the beginning of the year, we'll start again. So looking forward to see you then. And I would like to say a special thanks to Ricardo for sharing, and also GVDC for sharing such an interesting workflow. And looking forward to have you in further episodes and further events. So thank you very much, Ricardo.
It's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you everyone. In case you want to meet us later, see you early next year. We'll keep in touch. You'll receive the information. Bye.